Good afternoon, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. If you're familiar with me, you know we can already defeat entirely the resident presumption. So I wanted to start looking at a different presumption, because in regards to the resident presumption, there's a presumption of federal, state, or municipal official or agent. And that's in the course of commerce. And so now we're going to step it up to the military venue, which is military servicemen or civilian service. So we're going to take a look at civilian service and what it means, where it comes from, how it plays in all of this, and how you've been duped on both levels, the resident and civilian. Okay, the resident by occupancy, civilian by employment. So please, feel free to share. I'm going to wait a couple minutes, see if we can't get some more people on. In the meantime, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your patience and attention as I've been going over the last several years, trying to figure this out for everybody in my own manner, and that is simply through education, not by teaching everybody how to fill out their forms. Don't ever get me wrong. I will never teach you that. I will never do paperwork for you. What I pose is an education that you do the research that I've done and others have done, both good and bad, on both sides of the track, bankers and non-bankers, lawyers and non-lawyers, courts and non-courts, nationals and non-nationals, international and non-international, every venue you can research. Get greedy on that. In that greed, inherent knowledge that you should know and is easy to comprehend will bring you more wealth than anything else. So please feel free to share and get this message out, because it is your own self-determination. As I pointed out in the video yesterday, assessment authority. You're the one making the assessment. So find better material to make better assessments, and that assessment is based on your value of what you are, not what anybody else says about you. See, when it comes to treasuries, I don't give a rat's ass about this earthly treasury. I'm thinking about the treasures in heaven, where when I pass on, everything I do is an inheritance for somebody else. And that's not everything I have, that's everything I do. Thy will be done. That's the benefit. So think about this. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, let's get into it. Oops. Okay. First of all, I want to make it very clear. If anybody thinks civilian is not governmental, they would be absolutely wrong. Civilian is governmental, and that's why they have the definition in their administrative personnel, Office of Personnel Management. And if you remember our video yesterday, you'll see that the tax assessment puts you under that management through the Postal Service, the true tax issuer. Okay? And we all know now that the Postal Service is the military arm of protections of the Treaty of Berne, And that military arm is an extension of the Navy first. So let's take a look. Civilian service. And it says civil service regulations. So again, if you believe you're a civilian and not part of the government, you're wrong. Because the government regulates the government. And so if they have a civil service regulation, that's telling you the civilian services are government operations. Except as otherwise provided under Title III of the Federal Employees Retirement System Act, this is your Social Security. An employee or member is entitled to credit for all purposes under Federal Employees Retirement System. In that Federal Employees Retirement System, as civilian workers, you've been making donations through the Social Security, Medical, and the FICA, Federal Insurance Contributions Act. You have been donating. You've been basically, as a civilian service, a civilian, you're on leave without pay and therefore employed in a civilian service because you're not enlisted for deployment. So you're either on the deployment list or the employment list, both being military. Deploy. Employ. Ploy meaning plot, as in plan. A retirement plan. Performed after December 31st, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We're going to take a look at this section. But like I always do, I'm going to leave the links so you guys can look at this section yourself. But I'm going to take a look at this section as we go through and do the codes. And that first one, deductions from pay contributions for other service deposits. Deductions from pay, that's the Social Security, contributions for other service, and then deposits. Think about the way this is constructed. You're going to get that check. They're going to take deductions from your pay and contributions for other services, and then they're going to deposit in your employment account so you can receive a check. You get that check, and then you turn around and deposit it somewhere else. Deductions from pay. What pay? All payment for any service in the United States, any, is a fiat currency, a military script known as commercial paper. And when you fill out those forms are known as battle of the forms. You are still in the battle. If you fill out an employment application, it is proving your will to enter the battle. A creditable service. The total service of an employee or member is the full years and 12 parts thereof, excluding from the aggregate the fractional part of a month, if any. Military pay is per diem. So military pay, military service is not creditable according to this. Is the full years and 12 parts thereof, excluding from the aggregate the fractional part of a month, if any. Everybody gets paid per diem. You got to clock in and out every day. As we go through here, we go on to the next one, and we see 5 U.S.C. 8332. Again. Oops. What did I do there? Oh, I missed basic pay. The employing agency shall deduct and withhold from basic pay of each employee and member. Term employee means an individual. That's a single man. It never regards any corporate body. Okay? Never. Member has the same meaning as provided in Section 2106, except that such term does not include an individual who irrevocably elects by written notice to the official by whom such individual is paid not to participate in the federal employees' retirement system. This is that religious exemption from employment taxes. Okay? Not to participate in the federal employees' retirement system. You don't have to participate in that, folks. You can let them know you need a job, but you're not taking a job as a civilian or a member. You're a private contractor. And you have the right to be able to gain job gainfully for your own benefit, naturally, as a private contract without having an automatic or mandatory third-party intervener. I don't give a fuck about the IRS, because the IRS has no authority unless you communicate with them to give them authority. If you comprehend this, then you should comprehend that the government of the United States itself then has no authority. If you comprehend this, and the federal government means all entities and the government of the United States, including the Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission, what it's doing, what you should get out of that is it's telling you they are giving a grant of their own authority. That's it. Unless you communicate with them in writing, they have no authority, and everything is presumed. So all you have to do is give them notice that you're not a member. If any one of them confronts you, sorry, not a member. You prove that I'm a member, and we can go from there. Otherwise, until then, that presumption of facts, I have rebutted that I am not a member, and until you can prove that I am, you can go fuck off. So let's go on to the next one. We did, well, first let's go back here. I want to get basic pay, because we were talking about that per diem. The term basic pay has a meaning given in such term by section 8331.3. We are at 842. We go up here to 8332. So we go back. Phased retirement. Every step of the way, you are phasing yourself in. And you will not be phased out for retirement until they put that fucking headstone on a ledger, out on a plot, in a graveyard. Comprehend that. And then, when that headstone sits on that ledger, people will drive by and never recognize a single headstone in that plot. People will go out on certain holidays and see that plot. But then they never want to talk about that name on the headstone anymore. They don't want to talk about the acts, the things that one man did. Because he's gone. Well, again I pose, if we're not supposed to listen to the messenger, but rather the message, then I urge everybody to quit paying attention to any name, regardless, and listen to the message. Because without names, and there only being a message, I think it highly unlikely anyone could point to any authority saying anyone has authority over another being. Period. You have to sign up for it. You have to fully, knowingly, and willingly be part of that. Otherwise, there is no creditable service. You're not even crediting yourself. How can they place credit on it if you don't put credit yourself? Think about that. So let's go on to the next one. Deposits for civilian service. Remember, we talked about the deductions from pay, contributions for other service, and deposits. The deposits are denoted as deposits for civilian service. Where are they deposited in? It's deposited in a government account. The corporation takes your number and uses it as an investment, your address and your social security number, your name and everything, uses it for investments and deposit in a general fund for the civilian service that they received. Current and former employees or members. I'm no longer a member. Old and new foundations, presumed to be old and new, what is it? Old and new, 26 CFR, under notices, B, presumption that old and new organizations are private foundations. See the switch? From organization to foundation. And that's what we're talking about, folks. That deposit for civilian former employees or members of the organization. No longer employees or members, but now established and presumed to be a private foundation because I'm no longer filling out your forms. You no longer have communication in that format. However, we can communicate through written devices. Period. Then we have definitions. 8331. Temporary congressional employee appointed at an annual rate of pay after he gives notice in writing to the official by whom he is paid of his desire becomes subject to this subchapter. That's your employment application, guys. You're using that address, which is known to be under the definition of person of Title 939 CFR. They have a definition of person that says a banking institution. A banking institution, a temporary congressional employment appointed at an annual rate of pay. This is your minimum basic pay. You go to McDonald's, they can still construe you as a congressional employee without the facts. This is how far the extent of a civilian goes. It's all a presumption because of the documents you are giving them. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. The next one is another set of definitions. Term account means an account established and maintained under Section 8439A of this title. Accounting and information. Now, when I spoke yesterday in our video about assessment authority, I think I mentioned something about tampering with a witness. Information. Offer and acceptance. Information of contract. Accounting and information. The executive director shall establish and maintain an account for each individual who makes contributions or for whom contributions are made. For whom contributions are made. Did you make the contribution for you, or did you make the contribution for their person? Or who makes contributions to the thrift savings fund. Have you been a spendthrift like I've explained before? You went out and took your father's inheritance and spent it all up. And when you ran out of funds, you had to hire yourself as a bondservant so you could earn the money back so you could make your trip as a prodigal son back to your father's estate. Were you a spendthrift? Civil Service Retirement and Disability Fund. When you signed up for that Social Security application, you signed up for a Civil Service Disability Relief Fund. Federal Retirement Services Fund. Okay? Assignment of employees to state or local governments. So when you use that address with that name, both of them being federal elements of the federal government, including all entities of the government of the United States, including the Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission, you now used it, a federal instrument at the state level. And you're the one making that assessment, and the state is taking that assessment and running with it. I urge you to come out of her and quit doing it. The next one, annuities and pay on reemployment. This is that unemployment based on the credits that you've already paid in if you lose your job. That's an annuity fund. Thrift savings fund. Annuitant receiving annuity from any fund or from the fund. Civil Service Retirement Fund. $84.68. $83.44. Civil Service Retirement. General and administrative provisions. Generally, you are an administrative civilian operating under the provisional laws of military law, martial law. Martial law, Article 10 of the Labor Code. Martial law chiefly affects the police in the collection of public revenue and taxes for the use. Let's look it up, make sure we get everybody on the same line, because I know there's a part of it that I keep missing when I state for the use of the Army and its martial law chiefly affects the police and collection of public revenue and taxes, whether imposed by the expelled government or by the invader, and refers mainly to the support and efficiency of the Army, its safety, and the safety of its operations. I guarantee you, folks, when you get that employment application, you are providing for the support of the Army, its safety, and its operations, and you are going to be required to carry some sort of insurance when you already have Social Security through the SS5, which is insurance, and it is a naval insurance. The post offices are inland marine installations, and they carry inland marine insurance, whereas the Marines support and provide marine insurance. And then you, through the state issuance of the Social Security SS5 insurance, become a third-person carrier, a subrecipient of the marine insurance through the Postal Service as an inland marine insurer through the use of that address and the name. And now you are a interstate insurance carrier. Okay? Go on to the next one, Part 847. Instead of Part 846, we're at 847. Elections of retirement coverage by current and former employees. Remember, we talked about that old and new organizations presumed to be private foundations. Of non-appropriated fund instrumentalities. Remember, we said the federal government means all entities of the government of the under the government of the United States, including the Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission. Notice that did not say the United States Postal Service. Let's look that up and make sure we know what we're talking about. 5 CFR 575.102 definitions, administrative personnel, Office of Personnel Management, Civil Service Regulations. Federal government means all entities of the government of the United States. Oh, it is including the United States Postal Service as the in between, and the Postal Regulatory Commission. And again, I remember I asked a serious question. Why is it the Postal Service is the one with the trademark and not the government of the United States? It's the Postal Regulatory Commission with the SEC Securities Exchange Commission agreement for the Postal Service Realty Trust Incorporated, known as a real estate investment trust. So again, I ask, why is the Postal Service that has the real estate investment trust and not the government of the United States? This is the construction of your mortgage. This is where the mortgage lies. See, the mortgager is the United States, along with the Postal Regulatory Commission under the postal trademark by use of the addresses. Every one of those addresses is a node on the side of the postal route, known as its property, the real estate it invests in. And then you come along as an investor and decide to invest with them by using the federal name of an entity with the Postal Service for the service at that address. You become the service operator, principal place of business, household goods agent, operating as a transmitting utility, known as a federal, state, or municipal official or agent whose resident presence has been deemed necessary by the board without ever having been before that board. Therefore, that resident presence deemed necessary is not valid and destroys every government document they ever put out against you. Period. You didn't know this stuff. Now that you know, you can use it to destroy every document. Now that you know, you have a duty to express it. If you don't, you're the fool, and fools shall be fooled. I'm putting it out. All you have to do is use it. So, that is the instrumentality. Battle of the forms. For non-appropriated funds of employees that aren't really employees, who have elected for retirement coverage by current and former employers, the government. Why would you do that? You're not an employee, yet you sign up to be an employee, not realizing that's what you're doing. You use that name and address. That name and address is converted. The name and social security number is converted. They convert everything on the other side because everything you're doing is a donation. Okay? Accounting and information. Offer and acceptance information of contract. For state or local governments, and you're the assignment. You're making the assignment. You're using the number that was assigned already by somebody else, and you're making use of it in the wrong venues. You're only supposed to be using that stuff as a beneficiary, and you're supposed to give them written notices. Hey, I'm not a trustee. I don't know where you get that. I don't know how you're going to explain all your codes, but I'm not a trustee. I'm not an employee. I'm not a civilian. I'm not a military service member. Your presumption is about stupid. Your own code says the codes are made for government. What says they're made for the living soul? I think you're a little confused. So let's go to the next one. Limited appointments under 22 U.S. Code 3949. What is 22 U.S. Code? Foreign relations, folks. Watch this. A limited appointment in the service. What service? Service or foreign service means the foreign service of the United States. The foreign service of the United States. Any service. Anytime you say service, postal service, HUD services, your local library services, your community services, your national and community service. 42. Social Security, National and Community Service. As soon as you signed that application, you signed up for National and Community Service. National and Community Service State Grant Program. And notice, folks, they can repeal anything they want. But repealing is evidence of it having standing. Whatever they repealed here still has standing. They never took it away. Repealed just means they took it back off the record. Omitted means it's still there under certain records, but not on this one. Repealed means they took it out of all records. It's still there, just not in any records. Okay? Did you know let me see if I can find it. Civilian official or employee. Any civilian employee of, what's the DON? Paid from appropriated funds at the time of the incident. Would that be Department of Navy like I've been saying all along? Vehicle as including all means of land transportation. Government installation, any facility having fixed boundaries and owned or controlled by the U.S. government. Not government of the United States. Not government of the United States, but United States government. It includes both military bases and non-military installations. Now, what I want you to know is that if that post office is known as an inland marine installation, it is a military installation. And therefore, it's the other buildings that are non-military installations. The courthouse is a non-military installation. And it is subject to that local military installation. That local post office is where they get all of their judicial authority. That post office, that postmaster, has to validate all warrants because he is the warrant officer. Now, you want to validate a warrant from the local sheriff? Put it to the postmaster and ask him if that warrant has judicial validity. If that postmaster doesn't know what to do, he better be sending it up the line. He better not be dismissing it, say it's not part of his jurisdiction. Because if he does, he proves his own incompetence and automatic replacement by somebody who does know, in fact, what it is. They have secret security clearances to warrant the information that passes through their chambers of commerce. I have to find where I found this other part earlier. Now I know. Civilian service. We're going to go down here. In this, where I found all of these links here, check this out, guys. Remember, I just mentioned government of the United States is not U.S. government, United States government, or anything else. It is government of the United States. Okay. Check this out. When we get down here and we see state or local government, watch. Government means the federal government. Remember what we discovered earlier. Federal government means all entities of the United States, including the United States Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission. Now it says federal government. Government means federal government and Gallaudet College. Okay? Gallaudet College. Check this out. is the only university in the world where students live and learn using American Sign Language. I hope you guys comprehend the importance of that in accordance with the Government Office Styles Manual. Chicago Manual of Style. They all talk about American Sign Language. That debased dog Latin. Various different styles of grammar. And so again, I urge everybody, when you look at those forms and realize that they're battles of the form, they're using a different style of grammar. They're using a military grammar, inducing you to employing or deploying a war document. The beginning was Word, and the Word was God. And that Word was with love, not war. So, if a man is bound by his word, and he speaks war on paper, then he's bound by that word of war because he's already given up the word of love. If he's presented with the document of war, he should be able to rebut it with the words of love and not even have to touch it. I stood in that court, and that guy on the bench with the funny black robe tried to insist that since I demanded a bench trial with him face to face, that I somehow had to magically waive a trial by jury. Or a jury trial, whatever they wanted to call it. So he wanted to hand me this document and tell me I had to sign it. Sorry, I already told you right from the start, you're not going to get another signature from me, ever. So you can do what you want. But I'm going to prove that there is no waivers of anything here. And that the only thing that really stands is my demand. He commanded it, and it was done. He spake, and it stood fast. And that's the word I will use from now on. I wasn't so successful with that yet 6 years ago in that courtroom. But I guarantee you, that's my success now. I'm never going to let that fail. Ever. He commanded, and it was done. He spake, and it stood fast. Guess what? In Jeremiah 1 verse 5, he knew me before he formed me in the belly. While I was in the belly, he commanded, and it was done. When it was done, and I was freshly baked, and I was cast from that womb, he breathed the breath of life into my nostrils and made me a living soul. And no one in this entire world will rebut that process. None. That's what makes me stand. His word. Not some paper, some words on a piece of paper. All rise. Fuck you. As I sit there in the court with my hat on, and then the judge tells everybody, you may be seated. Sir, can you take your hat off, please? No, thanks. I don't want to. I'm not going to play their games anymore. I've been done playing their games for a long time, and I think you guys need to step up and quit playing their games too. The information is out there, and all you got to do is have access to it. I'm showing you where it's at, and like I said earlier, you have a duty now, one way or another. You have a duty to yourself first and foremost. If you fail that duty, then you also fail the duty in loving thy neighbor as thyself, and prove that you wish to remain in that battle of the forms. I hope you guys comprehend what I put forth here today. I'm going to shut it down for now. Like I said, I'm going to post those links. I'm going to post this on YouTube. I'm going to start sharing it in all the other forums that I have. Please do the same. I'm going to put my PayPal button up there. Please share some love. It's worth it. I assure you. I'm the only one doing things this way. Everybody else is teaching you how to fill out them forms. Really? Really? Are you an employee? Are you a military service member? Are you a civilian? Are you the one making that determination? Or did someone else do it and now you said, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's what I am. I'll go ahead and do these forms then. Because if that's true, then you forget all about Jeremiah 1:5. So think about that and have a good day. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. And remember, hit that PayPal button. I need it just as much as everybody else.